And just before we get into the video, something I should have been doing a lot more up till now, and that is just asking you guys out there, if you enjoy what you're looking at, if you like what I'm doing, go down below, click on the like page, subscribe to my channel, and by all means, please click on that little notification bell. If that way you guys get alerted when I do get more new content up. I usually try to do the what's on my desk monthly update beginning of the month. And I usually try to get a video or a series of videos released by the 15th, the middle of the month. So whether that's going to be a tips and tricks video, or an aviation history video, or my time-lapse videos of the previous model builds that I've got done, or an air show video, or some of my new product review videos I'll be doing. So I want to try to get something posted by the middle of the month. So please, if you're enjoying this, subscribe, like, and click that notification bell. Let's move on to the video. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be doing another one of my model product review videos, and in this video we're going to be going over the Revell 1/48 scale C-45 Expediter. So this is a relatively new kit. It came out in this particular boxing. It came out in 2015, and it's a rebox of the ICM 1/48 scale C-45 that were released in 2014. So this came out just 1 year after the ICM kit. ICM has since released a number of different boxings with different decals, but so far this is the only one that Revell issued. I find obviously the Revell issue is significantly less expensive than the ICM, which may be one of the reasons why they haven't reboxed since, is that ICM was not too happy that Revell was actually undercutting them. I'm not sure if Revell molded this one or if they just bought the sprues from ICM and then sold them at a lower price. I don't know what's going on in there in terms of the details and legalities of it. All I know is this came out and this was significantly cheaper for me to purchase than the ICM kits. So we'll go through it, and as usual, we'll start with the sprues, and then we'll go over the instructions, and then the markings, and then the decals. So that's going to be the standard format on these. So we'll get started with the plastic. As I said, I'm not a big fan of these boxes. These are those side flap opening, and everything comes out the side. It's very difficult to work with these. I prefer a top-off box because you can see what you're looking at. In this case, you have to pull everything out of the side in order to get to anything, and it's very easy for stuff to be left inside the box. So, as usual, like I said, we'll get started with the plastic. And this is one of those safety notices which can go in the garbage. Really, I mean, if I need to read a safety notice, I really shouldn't be building plastic models. So the bags do come, I believe these are, the standard sticky bags that we see in a lot of kits today. So as you can see, there's quite a bit included in this kit. There's lots of plastic pieces. We'll just get these put off to the side, and then we can start going through stuff bit by bit. So we will start with, let's start with the fuselage sprue. So it's a nicely molded kit. It's got some fine engraved panel lines. They're very nice and to scale. They're not super deep trenches or anything, so that's nice. As you can see, the door is a separate piece, so you can build it with the door open if you so choose. It is a surprisingly small aircraft. You don't expect it to be as small as it is. I mean, you can just compare it to things like a P-47. You can see that it's not much bigger than a P-47, which really is surprising considering how many people this carries versus a P-47. But either way, very nice molding so far. So this is for Peru A, and I guess I just answered my own question. This is a completely reboxed ICM kit because these sprues have the ICM logo on it. So it is strictly, it's molded by ICM and then just provided the plastic to Revell, and Revell put it in boxes with their own decals and instructions. So there goes. That answers that question. Interior, there's not a lot of detail on the inside of the fuselage, but there is a lot going on in there, which you'll see in a bit, so it's going to hide most of the side panels. So there's the fuselage. The wing, the wings come in two halves, but each half is a full span wing. So the lower half, again, you get some nice detail in the fabric areas of the flaps. There's some nice detail in there. Again, panel lines are nice and crisp. The plastic seems to have, it feels smooth to the touch, but it seems to have just a little bit of texture to it. Be interesting to see how that takes to paint when you do paint it. I do plan on doing this one in a non-metal, a natural metal finish, an alclad finish. So we'll see how well it takes primer and alclad in the end. And then the upper wing, again, as I said, is a single piece, and it's got the floor for the cabin built into it, and then the fuselage sits up to it. So everything fits together. It'll be interesting to see how that seam turns out in the end without cutting stuff apart. It's hard to see how that seam will end up, but hopefully it turns out quite nice and easy to manage. Little annoying that it's got one of those standard seam lines, which is going to be running right through the middle of a flap. Hopefully everything goes together quite nicely and there isn't any crazy gaps that need to be filled, as it is going to be in the middle of a fabric panel. It'll be very difficult to hide that seam if it is a nasty looking seam. So moving on, we'll do the clear parts at the end. There's a couple of these tiny little sprues floating around inside. Looks like it's the bits for the wheel well, the engine mounts, and the inside of the cowling structure. And then this is the rear structure for the inside of the wheel well. So I'm not entirely sure why it's provided in sprues like that. It looks like they were cut apart from a larger sprue. Again, you know what? It looks like it comes off of. Yeah, see, it looks like they would have lived in here and they're just molded as a single piece, then they're snipped off at the factory. Just a weird way of doing it, but there is some nice detail in there. Like I said, you can see in here, there's a lot of good nice detail with the structure. You can see sort of the internal structure for the wheel well and what you would have seen in the wing spars and stuff like that. So that would take well to paint, and the weathering, some black wash and whatnot will definitely make that pop. So it's a nice looking detail. And then the main sprue here with all your other details includes things like your horizontal stabs here, your tails, which are single piece, so that's a nice touch. There's no going to be seam line on that. Your instrument panel, there's not a lot of detail in the instrument panel. I'll zoom in here a little bit so you can take a look. There is the hint of instrument faces, but there's no actual detail on the inside of the instruments. This will eventually be filled in with a decal that's provided, so you can do a little bit of detail if you want it, but the decal is there. You've got all of your seats. There's different style. Oh, I know why. These are the inserts. So you've got your metal frame and then your seat cushions, so they can be painted separate and then installed together. That's a nice touch. I like that. In terms of painting, it's a lot easier than having everything together. So just working your way across, you've got bits here for landing gear and wheel wells. You got gear doors, both up and down is provided. I am going to attempt to do this one with the landing gear down. Again, horizontal stabs, cockpit parts, internal wing structure parts, more horizontal stabs. You've got fuselage bulkheads, the doors, your engines. Not the greatest detail on the engines. I would have liked to see a bit of cooling fin detail on the cylinder heads there. They're a little on the blank side, but with just a little bit of, hopefully a bit of washing, you can make that look nice. A little bit of weathering and washing. You get some internal instruments. I'm not entirely sure what these are. Check the instructions. The wheels are very nice. You only have the one point you need to fix. If you do it right, you can sand that point flat and it can live down on the ground. So that one single sprue point can be your down part, so you hide it. Or when you put the wheels up, you can put it up inside the wheel well and hide that poor seam point. So that's not too bad. Ailerons are separate piece, so you have the ability of posing the ailerons. The rudder and elevators are molded in, which is weird that the ailerons would be separate but the elevators wouldn't, because normally if you have one of these sitting on the ground, the elevator would be drooped due to gravity. So the fact that that isn't an option is a little annoying, but is manageable. And then over here you have some seat frames for your cabin seats, where the cockpit seats would be sitting inside the cockpit itself. So overall, not too bad. Again, considering the size of the aircraft, it is a slightly smaller parts count, but there is a lot going on inside the fuselage. So it's a little, you don't need that much detail, as you don't get to see much inside the cabin, and there's just enough detail to busy it up and make it look interesting. So I'm just going to put all this away, and we'll take a look at what we got going on with the clear bits. So the clear bits are nice and crisp. So you're included, you have the two side windows for the cockpit, which get installed first. And the main windshield is installed afterwards on the front, and you got a few smaller windows here, and the main cabin windows. So it all looks nice and clear. Hopefully they fit on nice and easy, and there isn't too much filling needed around the windows. It's always tough when you got to do some filling around clear parts, but they definitely look nice. I've seen a couple of different build up of this online, and it looks like a nice kit. It doesn't seem to have too many issues, but hopefully mine goes together nicely. This is next up on my build plate, so you should be seeing some details with this kit coming out soon, with both my what's on my desk monthly updates, as well as very soon hopefully we'll get the time lapse completed when it's all done and get that posted. So if you're looking at this video you know, a few months after I get this posted, check down inside the description. You may see a link to the time lapse build of this. If not, it will be coming out in a couple of months once I complete the build. So I'll also include down in the description a link to my website page where I have a review of this kit, so you'll have a list of all of the aircraft options as well as scans of the instruction booklet. So if you ever need to take a quick look through that to look at the options, it's there. So the instruction booklet's a nice full color. It's printed on nice glossy paper, easy to read. I say that, you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, why I say that with a bit of a caveat. They've gone to this newer style full color magazine look over the old instructions. Easy-ish to understand what you're looking at, a lot more than before with that cheap paper. Paint callouts are easy to follow, somewhat. They are using Revell's own color callouts, which make it a little harder to convert to other ones. But they do give you the names. You can see here it's called, you know, NATO olive. So you know that's olive drab, and this is black. And this is the interesting one because you've got bronze green, then you've got a 75-15 mix of bronze green and yellow, and a 66 to 34% mix of bronze green and yellow. So I'm not entirely sure what colors these are trying to replicate. I'm assuming it's trying to replicate a zinc chromate color, which I can use another paint scheme for. But looking through your references for this will definitely help to get the right color scheme for what you're doing. If you use Revell colors, then this is easy. If not, these two colors could pose a problem without looking at any references. So next up we have the parts layout tree. So you see all the different parts that you need to build the kit. There are a few parts that are grayed out that you don't need to use. I didn't look to see if they're included in the kit or not, but there are a few that you will not be using in this kit. So I'll zoom in a little bit. We'll go through the instructions step by step. So step 1 and step 2 is the gluing in of the windows. Again, I don't like when they have you do this kind of stuff first, because in reality you should be doing some of the internal painting before you glue the windows in, because then you'll never be able to get it done properly. As well, you're going to be smudging those windows up for a while. So your best bet is to try to put these in as late as possible in the build sequence, and still make them fit. So a bit of testing and checking will tell you what the best option is. Like I said, if it is in the description, take a quick look at that time-lapse build I have. Hopefully I have a good example in there of how I did it and made it work. If it's not there, stay tuned. It will be coming out soon. Step 3, installing some of the internal parts. I mean, just a good example is the little rear bulkhead door has a door handle that needs to be attached, so there is quite a bit of little things to go inside the cockpit. The overhead panel also gives you a little bit of detail painting here on what to do. Step 4 is the installation of all of the instrument panel parts, the decal, the overhead panel, your rudder pedals, some little knobs, so everything in here for the instrument panel. Step 5, you glue the instrument panel into the fuselage. Step 6, you're assembling, I believe these are the pilot seats. Negative, I take that back. This is one of the passenger seats. So step 6, you're assembling one of the passenger seats. Step 7, more fuselage windows on the other side. Step 8 is you're installing the seat that you previously built. 9, fuselage window. 10, you're gluing the fuselage halves together. So you can see, I've mentioned in previous reviews how breaking the steps down into smaller steps make a lot more sense. It seems like having one step for one window is a little redundant, but if you start mixing too many steps, you might build things in the wrong order. So I like this, having these steps spaced out, and each step is a small amount of items to build. I like this very much. I prefer these over other styles. So as I said, 10 is gluing the fuselage together. 11, you're beginning the process of building the main landing gear. So 12 is the actual strut. 13 is part of your inner structure and engine mounts. It also tells you to build it twice. Part of these get built twice. And then step 14 here, you can see it's gluing the firewall onto the internal structure. 15 is more internal structure. 16 is the gluing on the main landing gear gets glued in. This is where I need to take some look at my references and figure out how this gets fitted if you're folding the gear up. It doesn't really show you how to fold the gear up, but it gives you a part to do it. So you need to do a bit of research and figure that out and test fit. And then part 17, you got both halves built up, and you're gluing your two assemblies into your nacelles. Part 18, you're building some of the scoops that belong inside the engines. 19, you're putting your engine faces on some more firewall. 20, here's where those scoops that you assembled back in step 18 get glued to the inside of the cowlings in the bottom. The engine, these are probably oil coolers and carb intakes, so they get glued in. And then you're installing your engine faces as well as the rest of your internal wing structure. Step 21, 22 are going in the the ailerons. 23, 24, and 25 are the assembly of the seats, both cockpit seats as well as passenger seats. 26 are control yokes. 27 is the gluing of the upper and lower half of the wing, as well as painting the floor. As I said, the upper wing center section is part of the cabin floor, so you actually get that assembled. 28 is the mounting. There you go. 28 is the mounting of the pilot seats as well as your cabin seats. So you can see how they also mount to that middle upper wing structure. 29, you got some miscellaneous engine panels being glued in, as well as the exhausts. Part 30, you glue the wings to the fuselage. 31, assembly of the horizontal stabs. 32, you add the tails, making sure they're square. 33, you glue it all together. 34, here's where you have the ability to do the gear. Oh, there's the answer I was looking for. If you're doing it with the gear up, it shows you how you just use the wheel glued into the closed door. And then 35 is the tail wheel, along with its doors and everything else that go together. 38, if you're doing wheels down, it shows you how to put all that together, as well as the opening doors in step 39. Step 40 is the assembly of the prop. You have a finished prop as well as the prop with the spinner. So you can do your research, figure out which one you need. If you need the spinner, you trim the front of the prop. If you don't, you have it already finished. It shows you exactly how much space to cut off to add the spinner. 41, you're gluing the props and the canopy on. And then finally, step 42, you're gluing in your door, the window, the door, and the antennas. So the out-of-the-box instructions, it gives you markings for 2 separate aircraft. You get this aircraft here, which is 4335764 from the 2nd Electronic Squadron in Almsfeld Field, Pennsylvania from 1948. So it's a natural metal scheme, yellow cowlings. You got your olive drab anti-glare panel on the nose and the inside of the cowlings, and your post-war U.S. Air Force markings. A lot of it, so you guys can get a good look at that. And the last option here is from number 728, Naval Air Squadron Fleet Air Arm, Hellfire Malta, from September of 1949. And again, it looks like it's a natural metal bird in the standard post-war RAF markings. Again, this one here has a black anti-glare panel instead of the olive drab. So 2 cool schemes. They're pretty basic out of the kit in terms of paint schemes. I am going with an aftermarket sheet. If you take a look on my website, as I said, I'll have a description down below for the review. If you go through the links in there, you'll find the decal sheet. I'm planning to use the Caracal decals, doing it up in a Canadian scheme. But instructions, as I said, I prefer these super detailed, lots of steps. It's very easy to follow. It's very hard to do things in the wrong order. One thing I do want to note if there is anybody looking for the answer to this, this kit offers the early style C-45. And that means, I'll zoom in here for a second, the leading edge is a continuous line. Sorry for the shake, it's a continuous line. You can see how the leading edge of the wing continues straight. I'll pull out the instructions for the caracal sheet. Just as a quick reference, I can show you that later versions of the C-45 had a kink in the wing. So you can see how the wing changes its angle in here. So this had the later model extended leading edges in the intersection of wing. So this kit, the ICM, well, at least this version of the ICM kit and the Revell boxing of it does not include those leading edge extensions. However, a little bit of a tangent, if you are looking for that version, Belcher Bits, a Canadian company, does offer the leading edge extensions as well as the longer upper nacelles that are needed for some of the later C-45 models. So these are available from Belcher Bits. Check out his website it's literally just, I believe it's belcherbits.com. So you can take a look on that. These are available for anybody who does plan on making this later style C-45. And on that note, I will grab the rest of the instructions. Put this stuff back in the box before I lose it. So this is the decals that come in the kit. As I said, they're pretty basic decals. Your instrument panel is here. You've got your seat belts and everything. Your props. They are one of those interesting decal sheets printed by Revell Germany, and they've got the flat on the decal, so it's flat, not glossy. I have found in the past that these models that use the flat carrier film, it doesn't settle as well into the carrier film itself. It doesn't settle as well. It'd be interesting to see how this takes with setting solution. I mean, I'll know more when I start using some of these decals, how it works. I'm not entirely sure how they work, so hopefully they work out well. I also have a distinct feeling that some of these colors may be off. I feel like the USAF should be in black. I'm not a historian in US Air Force marking, so I could be wrong. My gut tells me that USAF should be in black. But I mean, again, I'm not a historian, I'm not an expert in that, so I'm not too sure. So those are your decals. I said you have your American and your British versions plus your common. So not a whole lot options out of the box. So if you are looking in the kit, I do recommend an aftermarket sheet just because the options are a little limited. And I can't guarantee the quality of these decals. So there we go. That is the Revell reboxing of the ICM 1/48 scale C-45 Expediter. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.